I was gonna
So
say
I'm
that makes
investing
sense.
like $300.
Cool. Well, I'm I haven't the last iPhone that I owned was the iPhone 3GS.
Oh, that sounds like a long time ago. You worked with Android ever since?
Yeah, which I've been like obviously my frame of reference is super old and outdated, but yeah, I appreciate the Android landscape or ecosystem.
My thing is that I work in technology, and it got to the point to where I need to understand iPhone, because I have people calling in about iPhone stuff, and I'm like, I've got no clue. Like, I don't know.
I thought there's not isn't that the whole point of Apple? Like no issues whatsoever, ease of use, just things
Well,
just work.
not when you try and merge Apple with Microsoft.
That makes sense. But I don't know, that just seems to be sort of a
Hello,
Yeah,
all.
so Microsoft
Yeah.
and Apple don't play very well together.
yeah, I
Ultimately.
wouldn't think so.
Hey, guys.
Hey, good evening.
Howdy.
What's up?
I need to
What's
turn
up?
you up.
Am I down? 'Cause you guys seem down to me, but I'm not
You're
sure.
fine.
No, but I had you at 90%. I don't know why. Maybe you were too
Okay.
loud last time. I don't know.
All that
Okay.
screaming you do,
Or,
bro.
we're too black. I see you. Okay.
Rowdicus's form of oppression is reducing your volume.
By 10%. By 10%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's better than the Constitution. I'm only was a few
True.
of a person there. 9/10 with him, so we're in the right direction. Yeah. How are you all?
It's been an interesting week for me so I didn't consume that much to begin with, but I decided to cut out caffeine, and boy, it's been an experience.
Okay.
Good experience.
Where no, not at least for the first for the first 3-4 days, I just had a constant mild headache that just never went away. And then paradoxically, my sleep. And I did this in the hopes of improving my sleep. But paradoxically, it got worse. But then now appears to be getting better. So I'm hoping, I'm past the worst part.
I did not decide to cut out caffeine. That is a choice I didn't make this week. So,
Same.
that would be death for me. Cutting out caffeine would probably literally mean death.
I didn't really. Again, I only really consumed the equivalent of 2 cups of coffee in the morning before my workout, and that's it. I never consumed it past noon. And this is just kind of a last ditch attempt to hopefully improve my sleep, because I've been having sleep issues for the past month or so. So I was like, well, I'll give this a try. And yeah, the first 3-4 days it was rough going. I'm not gonna lie.
See, on the opposite hand of that, I could drink a full Monster and take a nap.
Yeah, I could do that as well.
I could just down a Monster and be like, all right, it's nap time.
No, definitely not. At least not me.
Wait, you can hear me okay, or you can't hear me?
I cannot.
You sound like you're far away.
Yeah. Using that mic counterpoints.
You sound like you're a other side of the room.
Yeah.
Hold on. What about now?
Much better.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Actually, a little loud, but I can adjust that on my side.
You can appreciate you just fine.
90%. 90%. Okay.
How about that?
That's great.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. We're all here on time. It's fantastic. All right. We'll get started. Over to you here, maybe. Okay. All right. So, thanks all for being here. This is the Reverie Roundtable, which we do Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. My stream had really fun technical difficulties the very last second before I got started. That was amazing. I loved it so much, that experience. We're here. But we've got some great individuals who I'm really excited to talk to. Starting with my friend Lactoid. Lactoid, how are you?
I'm all right. How you doing, Prime?
All right. Have you shaved since last time?
I did shave. Now I'm
I
beardless.
noticed things.
Now I look 17, and it happens every time. So I apologize for that. Hopefully, I'm still credible, and people still find me credible. You can find
You're a
me
libertarian. That's the worst
Yeah.
part. But all right, go ahead.
you can find me at Lagtoy TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
Thank you so much, friend. Next, Corey Campbell with us again. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well. And yeah, always grateful to be here and looking forward to getting into it with these familiar and fine faces. You can find me on, I'll join the bandwagon, Twitter, at It's Corey Campbell, and Instagram is Corey Campbell, and on Twitch, Corey Campbell84. And yeah, looking forward to it.
KKK. Thank you so much. We'll go to our friend Admiral Gibbs, who was here with us last time. We had a great time with him, arguing about was it guns and stuff. I don't know. But we had a lot of fun with them. So thank you so much for being here, Admiral Gibbs.
Thanks for having me. I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can find me on Admiral Gibbs and everything. And remember, always join the death cults. They're good for you.
He's referring to the Second Amendment death cult. I still have more things to say about that, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. Next, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. My friend Counterpoints is back. Missed you so much, friend. How are you?
Oh, I am beautiful, and I'm ecstatic to be here as well.
Yeah. I missed you. I would have hit you up earlier this month, but I figured you'd be doing stuff with the family for Labor Day and all that. So
I have some good news.
You're dead? Sorry.
I quit my. Well, no. I mean, I got 2 kids, so I mean that's good news.
Okay.
But I quit my Giga corporate job that requires me to have a stick up my butt. That requires that I work from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. I am moving to a job that works 9 to 5, so I should be available 8:30 Eastern Standard Time on Monday evening. So I can't promise that I'll be here every single Monday, but I can promise that I could be here a healthy chunk of the time, and we could get back into it and start fighting again. So I'm really excited.
That is great
Congrats.
news. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm really happy to quit my corporate stick up the ass job. I'm actually ecstatic.
I have if you haven't been with the channel for very long, you might not know that Counterpoints used to be with us all the time, and it was a great time every time. And we missed them because life happens and people have to adjust. But the prospect of having you back more often would be amazing for me. Really the best news I've had today. Thank you so much, buddy.
No, my pleasure. And then just if anybody likes what I do tonight, you can check me out by typing in Counterpoints 40K into YouTube. You'll basically find I like breaking down the universe of Warhammer for new people and old people and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of popular. We just broke 50,000 subs, which is really exciting for me. Then if you like my political stuff, I have a debate channel and an essay channel linked down in the description of my main channel. And then I recently was banned off of Twitter for violent speech, but my editor has added a new parody account called Counter Connor that I am vaguely aware of. So, if you wanted to, talk to somebody who can then in turn talk to me, you can follow at Counter Connor on Twitter.
Wait, that seems like an impossibility to be banned off of Twitter. From what I understand, free speech was brought back to Twitter with Elon Musk. This is misinformation clearly. First Scott and now Connor. This is just free speech is definitely back, baby.
I am a capitalist, but do you guys remember that clip where that guy said that he wanted to double or triple unemployment and employees were too cocky and that
Gunner.
Okay. So I quote tweeted that with "I'm gonna kill you" Squidward meme, and that was enough for a permaban. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I'm not in favor of it, but it's just flies in the face of what I know about free speech on Twitter.
It's fine.
I thought it was
Squidward memes are serious threats, so it's
Musk has spoken.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
He said false statements, unheard of.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll go. Hopefully, they won't start shutting down multiple accounts like they did. But I guess with Destiny, got multiple accounts shut down, right? So hopefully that'll be the end of it. But all right, thank you for being here. We have our friend Pep, we haven't seen here in many, many months. But we're excited to see her. How are you, Pep?
Doing great. I'm happy to be back streaming a little bit.
Hey, were you doing other things in life or?
My mom had a heart attack, so I was taking care of her. She's
Okay.
doing betterish now. She's recovering and stuff, but yeah, definitely had a lot of chaos going on around that.
Okay.
But,
All
yeah.
right. I'm sorry, Counterpoints brought it up. Like he does that. He brings up people's personal business and makes it awkward for the rest of us. So
Terrible.
I do apologize for him.
I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you're that happened. But
Thank you.
she's recovering. So
Yeah, she's recovering. Things are going great. It just, yeah, a heart attack will take anybody out for a little bit. So,
okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, thanks for being back. And next we have our friend Sprouticus, Real American Hero. How are you, friend?
I am doing well. Excited to be back. It's been a minute, but excited to be back, especially about the topics. Looking forward to the conversation. I think I've talked to everyone here outside of Admiral Gibbs or Pep, so looking forward to meeting you two. But yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it turns out we got like a few people here we haven't seen in quite a bit. So it was really nice to have you guys back, including our friend Doobie. Doobie, our Dark Lord and Savior, is back with us. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well.
All right, that's it.
Still
life
engaged
updates.
somehow, though I'm regretting it more every day. Okay.
But yeah, thank you for coming through. So let's just get started. And on time. This is unbelievable. Here we go. The topics are topic 1. NYC Mayor Eric Adams has been on a campaign to discourage new migrant arrivals to his city. New York's infrastructure is being overwhelmed by an increasing number of immigrants. The city is having trouble sheltering all of them. Mayor Adams has been accused of making the situation more dangerous through anti-immigrant rhetoric and policies. He's a Democrat, remember. Should the city, state, federal government be doing everything it can to assist new arrivals? Or are Mayor Adams and his supportive constituents right to discourage new immigrants from their city? And is that behavior inherently bigoted? So yeah, like I've been wanting to take a swing at Mayor Eric Adams, figuratively, for a long. I don't get banned off of Twitter like Counterpoints, figuratively, or for a while. Yeah, this guy for all kinds of reasons. I think a terrible choice for New York. But any case, he is dealing with an issue, and that would be the wave of new arrivals. They are just buses after buses, and it's not all. Apparently, like there's like some sort of analysis. It's not all Texas Governor Greg Abbott's fault. He did send those buses of migrants to New York and other sanctuary cities, but it's like not all him. It's just people coming to that city, and you got to figure out where to put them, what to do with them, and it's a big bureaucratic mess. So I want to just talk about like what he's done and how you guy feel about it. So our friend Lactoid.
Yeah, no, I actually I think this is obviously, it's a problem when you have a Democrat mayor saying that's a problem, that unchecked migration is a problem, because that is kind of what's happening here. My understanding is that New York is spending a tremendous amount of money. The article mentioned $2 billion just from this specific crisis, but apparently New York for a long time has had a policy where you get free housing. You just get free shelter, paid for by the quote unquote willing taxpayers to live in New York, which I think is pretty wild. I think the solution to this is like pretty obvious. What we should be doing is that no, you don't get free housing, but while you're here waiting for your immigration trial or any other further legal action that might be required, we give you a temporary work permit. And then you get to work and actually, contribute and fund your own life. And if you can't afford New York, maybe you have to move a little bit out. I think that's reasonable as well.
Thank you so much, friend Corey.
Just to kind of maybe like refresh my memory, because like Eric Adams, I also seem to remember like a couple of weeks ago, a couple of panels ago, isn't this the same individual or mayor that wanted to institute drones for patrolling for the NYPD?
Oh yeah.
So this got me thinking, maybe now we can combine both situations and now use the drones to drive out all the... No, obviously not. I definitely don't want to use that at all. In all seriousness, it is a problem. Where in principle, I think there's a desire to do good, but just zooming in or scaling down, just as one person can't have an open door policy and like foster all the people, a state can't have can't support everyone that pretty much comes up on their doorstep. So some limits have to be put in place. And what those limits are difficult to, let's say, pin down. But at the end of the day, to answer the prompts, should support be given at the federal level? I think yes. And basically, to empower the states, it should not be all on them, even though they have this policy. But I think hopefully other institutions and other levels of government can step in so they can actually support these people. That's more or less where I stand right now. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you so much. Gibbs, please.
Yeah, so on one hand, I really am enjoying the just blatant hypocrisy out of the left on this issue, and it's really entertaining to me to see just this wild flip in policy reversal that places like New York and Chicago are having right now, where the constituents are just like, this is a mess. We're being overwhelmed. What do we do? Can we stop the borders of New York and Illinois from Texas shipping people up here? And then on the other hand, I'm kind of like, maybe if the Democrats finally realize what cities like San Antonio and other areas down here in Texas have been dealing with since day one, they might actually come together with the Republicans, actually find some kind of immigration reform, or maybe build the wall or something, or a combination to like actually handle this wild humanitarian crisis that's occurring along the southern border, and it's now finally impacting some of these northern cities.
Okay, thank you. Counterpoints.
Oh, I'm with Admiral Briggs all the way. I think this is hilarious, and reason being is because southwestern and western states have been complaining for like decades now, like we can't take a few 100,000 people, every single month or every single year. We're running out of resources. We're trying to provide people as best we can, but the truth is that we can't let all of Central America or South America move to the United States instantaneously. And so if this is what it requires in order for Democrats and Massachusetts and Maine and all that kind of stuff to kind of force them to practice what they preach, which is, no person is illegal and we should help everybody and burp derp. I think that's really easy to do when you're like a rich suburbanite or you're a rich urbanite. I think it's a little bit harder to do when you actually try to house all of Central and South America. And so I think that, that there are legitimate reasons to move to the United States of America, but I don't think that that is the United States of America's sole problem. And that these nations, similar to, I forget the Central American country, it might have been Guatemala or Nicaragua, went with like a really heavy-handed crime push to get their security issues under control. I think that was brilliant. And so I would like to see more stabilization of Central and South America. But yeah, I'll leave it there for the open.
A more heavy-handed crime approach, or a police approach to get crime under. Oh man, we're gonna have so many things to say about that one. We'll go to our friend Pep.
All right, so I think largely this is kind of a symptom of us mostly having a deterrent-based kind of immigration policy lately, where we're trying to keep people, well, a lot of people want to try to keep people from coming in, but when that doesn't work, as is happening, that leaves us without a framework to actually deal with the amount of people that are coming in. And I feel like instead we should focus on like collaborating between cities and states and both sides of the line, the party line, to try and make an actual like framework to deal with all this stuff. Because they're here, and we don't know what to do with them right now. And we have to do something. It boggles me that there isn't a better framework for this already.
Pep, you're like a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for that. Let's go to our friend Sprouticus.
So first off, I have to laugh at the irony of the left saying, we don't need any more immigrants. We keep more immigrants away from us. I have to give that irony a laugh because it is quite refreshing, in this day and age of political warfare. But no, there is a better way to do this. However, you don't want the better way. See, what we did with the Afghan refugees is we sent them to military bases to be until they were basically looked at, given a background check from the U.S. government, whether that was CIA, FBI, Homeland Department, any of these agencies were giving background checks, and then they stayed on the military base underneath military control until there was a host family that was willing to accept them. From there, they left and went to that host family, and that is how we dispersed the Afghan refugees that came here from Afghanistan. There is a better way. The U.S. government doesn't want to implement it, and no one wants to implement it because it's a very harsh way to bring in refugees. Bringing them in underneath military control is a very harsh way to do it. However, that is the best way we have currently with the amount of refugees we have coming up from Central and South America. So there is a better way. It's not suggested. But outside of that, yeah, if cities are being overrun by immigrants, it's probably not the best idea to keep sending immigrants there. Well, it's a good idea to disperse them across the country. That way there's not like these massive amount of immigrants that cities have to handle all at once.
So much. Let's go to our friend Toopy.
So I do want to be the third or fourth guy to say, haha, Democrats, fuck you. But I think that I think that's happened enough. But I think what you're probably going to hear from people on the left is, we said this should happen. We didn't say we should be the only ones doing it, right? So what actually needs to happen is the rest of the country needs to do their part to help these people. Though I agree, I feel like we're dealing with a symptom rather than the root cause, which is what the fuck's going on in South America and Central America. And I think that's been our problem for a very, very long time. So I agree with Connor. We do need to take much harsher action there to get that situation under control, or we're just going to keep treating the symptom for fucking decades, like we have been.
Okay. Up to the panel.
Just to maybe push back on some of the perceived hypocrisy on the left, where it's like, oh yeah, well, we're all pro-immigration, but we don't want to accept them in our own states. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I could just be looking at the wrong data. But from what I understand, the state that has the most immigrants is California. Am I incorrect in that assessment?
Sure, it is.
I think it's Texas.
Are we looking at just states or cities?
It's California.
Just on the
It's a
Texas border.
shitload, even if it's not the most. I think we could accept that it's a shitload of immigrants to fucking California.
Yeah.
Sure.
And based again, I'm just going by a limited data set, but pretty much of the top 5, New York is up there. And no matter which way you slice it, whether you go by total population or just percentage of the population, there are blue states that are up there. And I think California is number 1 by a landslide. So it's blue states are accepting immigrants, at least from what I can tell. Where it's not I agree there is a little bit of some perceived hypocrisy, and totally there's maybe some, you can maybe frame it as NIMBYism at a statewide level. But to say that it's only red states that have an issue with immigrants, or that blue states aren't willing to accept immigrants, I think that's totally wrong and not backed up by the data. Unless you have something to share with me.
Wait, hold on.
What is backed up by the data is that what is backed up by the data is that Texas was having a problem with immigrants. Texas was having a problem with too many immigrants in the state. And so from there, they started shipping them to New York, which was in and of itself a whole issue. And the Democrats were like, but wait, you should, this is so racist. This is so xenophobic. Why would you send us the immigrants? You should be able to handle the immigrants down there. This is insane. And then now New York's doing the same thing, except not starting to ship them places. They're making the same complaint that Texas had. It's ironic because New York went against Texas for the same
thing. Give me some
thing.
perspective though, Sprout, because it's true that that's happened, right? But what New York is looking at is I think over 100,000 immigrants in the last year. Right? That isn't all Texas sending people on buses, right? So I think in the article it said that there's this feeling of perception that people didn't realize how accepting New York is of unhoused people. And now that they realize this, they are flooding the state because they can go there and be guaranteed a house, right? For what seems to be indefinitely, right? So if the word has gotten out, and that's why they're seeing a flood of people going in that direction, where I think prior to this word getting out, if it did get out, people might have avoided the state because of the winters, or the harsh winters in New York, and so they would stay along the southern coast. It's not just the Texas governor said fuck you to New York, and now they're seeing it with the problem actually is. It just seems like this what you have, I think, is an issue of idealism meeting reality, right? We want to be able to house everybody, but if you have 100,000 people coming in a year, how the fuck do you house all those people, right? And how the fuck do you house the ones that come in next year?
Just pay for their hotels indefinitely.
I mean, but what's funny about this to me is this has been a
They're
problem.
5-star hotels.
It's been happening like for a while. Like, I mean, I'm looking at stuff just now, just in San Antonio. We've got over 100,000 immigrants just here in San Antonio underneath like freeways that they've set up camps for. We don't have any shelter in our migrant like facilities. This has been a recurring problem that's been happening here for months, years, a while. Like, this is not just one city. This is like all of Texas. And people are sitting here going, "Oh, what are we gonna do? Y'all are being racist, yada yada yada." And we're like, "No, we don't have enough money to feed our own people here, much less 400,000 people coming up on this caravan, 400,000 people on the next caravan." And then we ship people up to New York and people start pointing the finger and laughing at us, going, "Y'all are just evil for doing this. Oh, for the Florida guy's evil for sitting up during a hurricane. This guy's evil for sitting them there." Like, it's ridiculous. And it's kind of like, I like want to feel bad. I really do. But I don't. I don't, because finally, it's like the rest of the country is finally getting the shock treatment that we've been dealing with this for years. And we've been screaming for help. And then people go, "Poo poo, you put a mean barrier in the water." And we're just like, we don't have an answer. Maybe you can come down here and do better.
So this is complete bullshit. So I'm gonna have to say it. Like, yeah, all of this is well, okay. I have multiple perspectives on this. First of all, like this idea that like Democrats didn't care about immigration until now. In fact, Democrats have been pushing immigration reform for decades. They've been actively trying to work on this, and Republicans have actively been trying to block them. So like, let's not pretend that Democrats didn't understand the importance. Now, I'm not saying I would. Sorry, would you say?
Like, what's the nature of the reform? So if the nature of the reform is like, basically
open borders more.
Yeah, the Republican perspective is like, we have enough people, fuck this, shut down the border, and then only let in people who are highly vetted.
I hear you. Republicans had a different idea, the more brutal racist idea. Yeah, indeed. No, I hear you. But the nature of the reform, the nature of the reform was actually closer to what my friend Lactoid said, right? Like, but Democrats have been talking about getting temporary work visas for people forever, right? Like getting them working papers, and that way they won't be exploited by workers. So they can actually work here legally. They can actually be in the system. They can pay taxes, all that.
Yeah,
so
but Prime, I think
how would that not pull more people?
Hold on.
Because we stopped paying for their free house.
Hold on. So
and their medication.
I think Prime would say that they should still be housed, though, right, Prime?
I would absolutely.
Of course he does.
So hold on. I have a lot of things to say here, right? Okay. So there's that. But beyond that, I think at the same time, I think there is a truism here about how like people within like non-border states like didn't actually know how serious the problem was until this happened. And so I'm actually in support of Abbott like sending people out to other cities. I think that was actually really good. So that we understand, and I think we should spread people out all over the country. But what the racist part, or not racist, but the awful part of the way he did it was that he lied to the individuals he sent there. Well, let's not forget that, right? Like we had those reports of those people being like, "Oh, you're gonna get a job up there. Yeah, we'll have jobs waiting for you in fucking New York City." And he sent them out. I don't agree with sending them people out on false pretenses, but if they wanted to leave, right? Then absolutely help them to leave. That's okay. And fuck, there was something else I was gonna say. I'll deal with your Central American comment later on, but you guys want to jump in?
So maybe answer Counter's question.
What's the question? Sorry.
What type of type of reform are they trying? Okay.
No, the question I think, how's it not a pull factor? So that, but now I'll give you like a little more context. Here in California, we started giving illegal immigrants the ability to get driver's licenses, for example. Right, which made the state more friendly to them, so more of them came. How is allowing them to work legally in the country and compete with citizens?
Why wouldn't we just
have
all of Central America move overnight if you give them jobs?
Well, not only that, it's the minorities that live in America that are going to suffer from that policy that you're proposing.
Thank you for that. I thank you for your kind caringness for us minorities now.
I'm just saying.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
No, I don't. Prime. Like, why the fuck is it this is like actually odd to me.
It's also going to make the housing crisis much worse.
Hold on. So let's say that let's just say that we technically have room. right? Like Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, whatever. I'm sure we could move. I just Googled it. Central
Please.
America has 180 million people. So we could technically move 180 million people to the center of our country, effectively like increasing the United States population by half. What moral duty compels the United States to do this instead of saying, fix your own fucking country?
Counterpoints. I don't believe this is coming from you. This is amazing, right? Especially that such American comment. I got to get back to that later on. But the idea, first of all, the idea, this is like this like Western chauvinist idea that's like complete nonsense, but they throw it out there all the time as if this is like a truism. But that if you like quote unquote open up the borders, right? Or any time a Democrat is in charge, then the borders are apparently opened up or whatever, right? If they're in a state of being open, that all of Central and South America will just move in, right? That like basically everyone, no one actually wants to be in their own. No one wants to be in their own nation. No one actually loves their own country. All of them are just desperate to get to the U.S. Absolutely not.
There's literally another convoy of 400,000 Navy right
for
now.
a reason, and part of the reason is actually us. So the other part that's galling about your statement is to say that, well, yeah, you should fix your own country. Fix your own country while that's being fucked over by our drug policies. Fix your own country that's being flooded with weapons, your American military weapons. Fix your own country that we've knocked over your central government over a few times. Do all that yourself, and surely don't come over here. Fix your own country for the climate change that's affecting the farming. That means you can't make a living there anymore, so you have to move up north. Amazing.
Our current drug laws are affecting South or Central America, or are you talking about our drug laws of past?
Current.
Hold on, okay. Hold on. These drugs are illegal in these countries too, right? So whether or not we make them legal, they'll still be illegal in those countries. So the cartels exist to make to sell these drugs into these countries.
There was pressure on these countries to mirror our drug policies. Right?
So we should legalize. We should legalize these drugs. We should legalize. We should legalize these drugs. That way, cartels in South and Central America can feel free to do business in America with drugs. Like I'm confused on how exactly we're hurting them by saying, you know what, this is not a good practice. We shouldn't start like this mass transmit of drugs. Like what's hurting them about that?
And to keep in mind, we've legalized marijuana in multiple states in the United States, including California. The cartel still ships illegal marijuana into California, because it's cheaper.
Yeah,
it's cheaper, right? So if you wanted to do this, you'd need to either massively reduce the taxes or the cost of the drugs themselves.
Somebody say reducing taxes? Oh my god! I wanted to say hard. I wanted to say a few things. First of all, reducing taxes, always base. The first thing, our drug policy has absolutely contributed to the destruction of Central and South America, right? The U.S. is the biggest drug market by far, especially in this hemisphere. And if you look at all the drug trade routes, right, the shit is made in the South and it's shipped up into the United States, right? Our laws are what makes these cartels able to thrive, and those countries aren't stable enough to effectively combat the cartels. The fact that we have drugs illegal.
El Salvador just did it.
So there are some interesting cases. We can talk about El Salvador if you're okay with proto-fascist police states that seem to actually be somewhat effective at combating gangs.
Philippines is pretty effective.
Legalize all drugs. That's how we solve half the problem. But then the other
you present a problem, but you're not presenting a solution.
Yeah,
what's your solution to this?
Legalize the
drugs.
Legalize the drugs. Yes, and then American corporations like United Cocaine or whatever will move into the South, and then we will once again have corporate hegemony over that area, which I think is a good thing.
I hate libertarians so fucking.
Well, I got another libertarian meme for you because this is only half of my solution. I think this will not only increase U.S. corporate power over most of Central and South America, but it'll also reduce crime. It'll reduce the power of the cartels, or we'll just straight up begin to own the cartels by buying shares in their company. But then
buying shares of the cartel,
they would become legal. They would move to a legalized business model, and then U.S. investment power.
No, they wouldn't.
So
they would because it'd be legal. So why would you do it illegally?
That was the claim with marijuana too.
I mean,
That's
OPEC
enough.
already.
Right. So you would
And
have
then
to
with
you would have
there's
to
like
have
a
the
booming
taxes.
economy around it now.
Yeah, you would have to lower the taxes, right? Marijuana legalization has already had fantastic effects. If you lower the taxation, we can absolutely compete, and especially if we raise enforcement on the illegal stuff at the same time where we provide a legal pathway, of course we're going to see a reduction overall.
Not
in
all
negative
marijuana
effects.
legalization has
drugs
done
are we
really
gonna
is
legalize?
increase the use of marijuana by like minors. Like
If we
that's
talk about
the
the
effect of that.
legalization
That's
of
all it's
drugs
done?
and this
That's all
effect,
it's
we're
done?
talking about
That's all
Connor.
it's done, yes.
Connor,
Okay,
if we're talking about like if we're talking about the legalization of drugs and this effect, we're talking about like hard drugs. We're talking about like methamphetamine. We're talking about
Yeah,
like
so you're
all the
good
hard
with
drugs.
heroin, cocaine,
Caffeine.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wasn't done yet because the other solution is not only do we can stymie the push factor from these Central and South American countries by legalizing drugs and making their countries better and less gang controlled. But we could also reduce the pull factor. We could also reduce the pull factor by I think granting work permits is a good idea.
What are you gonna do about the massive amount of deaths?
Hold on. We allow work
Hold
permits.
on.
Hold on. Yes, we allow work permits, and then we remove the free housing and the free Medicaid that these people qualify for. Right? You just remove that eligibility. Then the pull factor is actually on the people who are self-supportive, which is the people we want in this country anyway. So there's no negative.
How what are you gonna do about the massive amount of Americans that die after drugs are legalized? Like what are you gonna do about the
That's
massive amount of
happening now.
Americans that
Yeah.
overdose?
We're going to take them to a hospital instead of what currently happens, which is them dying afraid of
Unless
seeking
they have
out
no
help
insurance, right?
because this.
They don't have any private insurance. They don't get the hospital, right?
Well, of course, yeah. The doctor is
Okay.
not
Oh
your
my gosh.
slave. That makes sense reasonable to me.
Oh God, I hate you guys so
Oh my gosh.
I really do. Like I would have to pull this apart by like it would take me fucking 10 minutes just to pull apart all the bullshit that was just said.
No.
Like literally.
Wait, what do you really disagree with? Bringing in hardworking migrants and solving the gang problem. That's all I propose.
Hold on. So I think bad things should be prohibited and
Like-
not
like
encouraged by
alcohol?
society.
Should alcohol be
Alcohol,
prohibited?
like tobacco, like come on.
Yes.
What the fuck is
Those
this
are not the
Yeah.
same level.
puritanical bullshit. Oh,
Hold on.
cigarettes kill way more people than any of the fucking drugs you're proposing.
Yeah, they
that
should
you
be
have to
banned.
keep legal. Oh, fuck
Okay,
you.
so
At the same
hold on,
rate?
let's do this. Let's do this one by one. Okay.
Same rate.
And I think that what you'll find if you're being intellectually honest is that people who drink alcohol and people who smoke tobacco are largely economically productive and socially productive for a majority of their lives. So they might have like hangovers and cirrhosis and lung cancer and all that kind of shit. But the truth is that you can abuse alcohol and tobacco for like decades before it finally catches up with you. And you probably die in your 50s and your 60s, not in your
What about
20s or
cocaine?
30s.
'Cause, I mean, I
When
feel
it
like I know a lot of
comes to-
productive
I'm in the
people
legal
on cocaine.
profession. I can tell you, a lot of professionals go for very long periods of time using cocaine. Okay, and
Yeah,
they're
so-
very
Well,
effective,
great.
high
Then,
productive.
then maybe cocaine is different than heroin.
How about
Maybe
meth? I know a lot of
focusing
this
on heroin.
meth. I
Well,
mean,
now
same thing.
we're negotiating, right? Now we're already in cocaine, which is like half the problem from Colombia. You know, and then we could like get to heroin, and then how much is that really going to be a
I mean,
problem? if
Lactoid
we,
already
like,
has a working
regulate it?
example in the real world. If you look at OPEC, that's basically what they did. The OPEC's an oil cartel. Why can't we just have a nationalized drug cartel somewhere? That's the same concept.
Also,
right?
Portugal
concept, yeah.
decriminalizes shit, and
Okay,
they saw their deaths go
I-
down. Portugal saw their
and
deaths go
did
down.
Did you see what's happening in Portugal right now? Now that they fucking privatized all of the fucking social safety nets.
Based. I don't even know, but it sounds based.
And that
it's
part sucked.
terrible. Literally, usage and fucking crime has gone up like a
And
motherfucker.
that part was really bad because
Tangential.
they really fucked up their
Yeah,
drug
no,
like
literally.
rehab.
Hold on. Can I
facilities
share
were
this
bad.
because I am a
But-
status in the libertarian
and
for fucking
Corey is
bringing
next,
all
go
over the
ahead.
goddamn place?
Status.
Sorry, you want Corey to go first?
You know, you go
The
next,
other
next,
statist.
and then Corey next after that.
Okay, yeah. So basically what happened was with Portugal, they decriminalized their drugs, but then they didn't legalize it. They didn't encourage people to do heroin and cocaine and meth. And instead, they had like civil citations and treatment citations. So they encouraged people to seek treatment, not to consume narcotics. And for the first decade, this was a largely successful program because the state still prohibited and discouraged behavior while offering incentives for people to stop those behaviors. And then what happened, I believe in 2012, was they gutted the state-run nonprofit organizations that didn't have a profit motive in order to function, and they passed it all off to nonprofits, which I understand they're not working aggressively for a nonprofit, but they're still private institutions who want to maintain enough funding for themselves. And then effectively what happened was a bunch of perverse incentives occurred where the nonprofits wanted to perpetuate the problem. And as a result, drug use and crime and property crime and vagrancy and public intoxication and all that kind of bullshit fucking like jumped by 30%. So yeah, so fuck that. Fuck libertarians. Fuck the free market in this specific instance.
Okay, really quick. I Googled, it took probably 2 seconds, and I just Googled something. I'm pulling it out of my ass right now, and this says you're wrong. So it says that the PPP model that they switched to in 2012 actually lowered operating costs and provides superior performance in comparison with their prior healthcare system.
I've seen differently.
Right off my ass.
Everything else says no.
Let's go to our friend Corey.
Well, first of all, according to some person who's not here, Lactoid is actually not a libertarian. So, to throw the label on Lactoid as a libertarian might be inaccurate. Or some, some people might take issue with that. He's a
minarchist or some shit.
He's a pseudo-libertarian. But yeah, I'm curious, Connor, like where your line is, because I have difficulty, as much as I don't encourage the use of, let's say, illicit substances or narcotic use, but I have a hard time justifying why they should be like illegal or criminalized. Where it's like, yeah, if we're going to permit alcohol, where's your line? Because like you use the example of alcohol and tobacco and productivity, but the majority of people that are on opioids, like even though you have about 100,000 or 80,000 deaths in the United States per year in opioids, the vast majority of people that are on opioids, they're still productive. Like the most people that take opioids, they don't actually become addicted, and so you can still hold down a job, you can still be, a parent to some reasonable degree, and so I'm curious, like,
then in your fucking free market thing, then let's like invoke Duterte's laws and let's just kill all the non-productive ones. So like when we go to Baltimore, we see the ones that are zombified on the streets, just kind of fucking sitting there shooting up every day. They're homeless, they're vagrants, they conduct property crimes. We'll just kill all the ones that aren't productive. Sounds.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just curious. Like, so do you just want something selective in terms of like these selective substances should be banned and these ones should be prohibited, or like I'm willing to go down your one by one list.
Sure. Let me walk down my policy, because maybe I'll base centrist bring this back to some level of sobriety. So what I would say is follow the Portuguese model for personal use. Okay, literally like decriminalize it for personal use. Keep trafficking illegal. Then you go to the cartels in Central and South America and you say, hey, we're going to buy up to this dollar amount of your stockpile so we can synthesize all of the painkillers, all of the local painkillers, anesthetics for cocaine, all of the amphetamines for, medicinal use, all that kind of stuff. We'll buy all of this shit to this degree and we'll make you billionaires. But then you're responsible for the security and you're responsible for the black market. So as a result, you bring them into the fold, they start working with the local governments and they shut down the black market. And, we talk about like plata or plomo, silver or lead. The other option is the American government just comes in and kicks your fucking ass.
Amen.
And then what you do, hold on, almost done. And then what we do is we continue to prosecute traffickers, we continue to prosecute dealers, we do the Swiss and Portuguese model for individual users, and we keep it decriminalized but not legalized. And then that way you're not literally creating an entire generation of drug addict, useless shitbag zombie monsters in every major American city on the fucking planet because you want to live in some fucking anarchic libertarian dick sucking shit.
Okay, well maybe not.
I have a response.
Too heavily. They're not all whatever.
I have a response to the statist.
Of course.
Okay.
I want to respond if I could.
Yeah, you respond. I do want to like yell at Connor for a bit, but yeah, you go.
Okay.
First, please.
Wanted to briefly say, when you said like a dick sucking kind of prostitution would be legalized, okay, in my society. So that absolutely could be a thing that would occur.
That way you can get your dick sucked by junkies.
No, I don't like my dick sucked. If you knew me, you would know that that's not something I would ever do.
He's not into
So
that.
I'm not into
I'm
that.
not saying
So
you-
so that's
Not
for
yet.
you
It's
guys.
not legalized. It's not legalized yet. He's not into it yet.
No,
That's
I'm just
the
not
Asian
into it
Americans, that would-
generally. What a waste
No,
of
not
time.
yeah.
Wow.
But I would still have that legalized though, because I'm not a tyrant trying to control everybody's little world. But here's the other thing here. Portugal, in the past 10 years, has had a crime drop at about 20%, 18% exactly. So almost about a fifth. Their crimes dropped in the last 10 years. Their healthcare model's actually improved based on some of the metrics that I'm looking at. This idea that Portugal is an example of like how this can go wrong seems to actually be the exact opposite, where this is an example of, holy shit, we thought that would be like we turn a country into a bunch of like mind-numb zombies, but the reality is that most of the time, the fact that people get into drugs is due to other things and due to tangential things, and it's not like, oh, you legalize drugs and then everyone wants to become a fucking heroin addict. What it is, wow, like, yes, drug use will go up some percentage, right? But there's also a tremendous amount of negatives that come with having drugs illegal. And there's also negatives that come with having drugs, even decriminalized as opposed to being legal. One of which is you're still having the cartels in power. If you want to talk about a way we can have it decriminalized, but also still find a way to remove the cartels from being able to sell it, I mean, that's like, I would be willing to work with you on a compromise on that solution. I still think it'd be easier to just legalize it. But I mean, if this is the only way we can actually make progress for making these Central and South American countries better than what they are now, as opposed to having to turn every fucking country into a fascist police state, yeah, I think that would be like an easy alternative for me.
Yeah,
So-
and
yeah.
I
So
and I want to respond because I've been trying to hit up counter on this, and this is a great segue. Talking about the fascism. So he at the very beginning, counter brings up Central American governments and like their path to policing gangs, right? And so this is an article from The Guardian. El Salvador crackdown breaks the gangs at huge cost to human rights. And just a few sentences from this. It says, even staunch government critics such as the trailblazing outlet El Faro have conceded that Bukele's, I think that's the president, crackdown, which has seen more than 64,000 people jailed and dramatically slashed the murder rate, has produced extraordinary change for Salvadorians, albeit at a huge cost for democracy and human rights. Thousands of innocent people are believed to have been arrested since the offensive began, some simply for resembling criminals or after anonymous tip-offs, while more than 100 have died behind bars. And so this is the thing that people point to as like a model we should be following. Now, El Salvador, one of the most dangerous places on earth. Because of those gangs, and they took action, and I hear that, right? But like, let's not forget that those civil liberties are gone. I remember I saw a video talking about this guy. He was like a tech worker, right? He was taking his kids to like the beach, and then a police officer spotted him, asked him a few questions. He's in the back of the van, and he's in jail for a year or so. Like, this is what our friend Counterpoints is talking about. Let's emulate that. This is the thing that we should move forward to. So when we talk about fascism in government, this is what we're referring to. And instead of doing that, having just a deterrent response, like Pep was talking about previously, like, why don't we have something where we help these people, help these countries transition to a state where they have opportunities in their country, right? Like, we put American investment to those countries, that we stop sending our gang members there. Because remember the whole thing with MS-13, right? Where we made them into a gang in Central and South America when they weren't previously before. That's because we were sending our prison gangs down there. Right? Let's not do things like that. Let's encourage growth in their own economies, and then they won't come. So why don't we try that instead of like?
Well, I'll tell you why that won't work is because they're essentially failed states right now, and that's why these people are leaving. They're failed states. They're second world countries becoming third world countries, and so there's going to have to be some kind of drastic change. And whether that be the Plomo or whatever he says coming in and us being taking over the countries and like starting the new American empire on them or something. I mean, there's got to be some kind of new change, and I mean, it starts with stopping the people from coming up. And like people can sit here and say, oh, all these different solutions. But the real problem is we got a problem now. It's our cities are overcrowded. We're getting migrants that we can't handle. We can't handle the homeless crisis that we already have, but we can send money over to the Ukraine. We can send foreign aid to these Central American countries that gets put right back in the hands of the cartels and these nefarious business owners. And like, there's no government that's sitting here that, oh, we don't have any way of tracking this money, and it's just going to whoever. And then we're going to sit here and act like some kind of policy change in these countries is going to stop a failed state. It's a failed state because there's no government. That's the real problem.
There is a government.
Corey,
No,
before
essentially,
you
there's no government. That's absolutely not the case, right?
It's
They
absolutely
have
the
a
case. Look at
government. They
Venezuela.
literally have a functioning government right now, and
They
to
don't
say
have
that,
functioning
They
government.
do not have.
oh,
functioning
sure, whatever. No, this is like, it is a trope that like Americans roll out against other countries. They
Do
do
you
it against
consider the
Mexico.
Weimar Republic a functioning
Have you heard? If you're old enough, you've heard
I'm gonna
like
be
the
upset.
Mexico is a failed state, like run through the news outlets multiple times. Like if you pay attention, they'll say, "Oh yeah, Mexico is just falling apart. It's just about to fall apart." I was watching another video on how they do this with Pakistan. Pakistan's a failed state, guys. Every few years, it's a failed state. Rather than talking about like the complications these countries have in their relationship to international politics and international finance and the reasons why you might see violence to their country. They're actually a failed state, and so that like we can't actually deal with these people. They're backwards instead of just like looking at the country and dealing with what you have there.
So
And
I
I just want to add on to that quickly, because if in fact what you're saying is true, Admiral Gibbons, which I disagree with, like, what do you think is going to happen if they do actually fail, where you have all surrounding border countries fail? So what is the better option? To pretty much like let things fail, or like to hopefully prevent that, to take steps like. So you're saying now, given the current state now, there appears to be this incentive in your mind to come to the United States, and you think that's going to get better if they actually fail, where they're actually like totally destitute countries, and there's going to be no further incentive to come to the United States? I'm curious what your rationale is.
I'm arguing that they're already failed states. And so when y'all bring up El Salvador, it's bad, right? But this guy came in there, there's human rights violations. But this guy's sitting there standing up saying, we're going to fix this country. We're going to crack a few eggs to do it. And that's rough. That's bad. But now we can't say El Salvador is a failed state. They're on the right track. But if you look at countries like Guatemala, Venezuela is basically the Weimar Republic before, Hitler took over. It's like they're walking around with buckets full of money to buy a loaf of bread. I mean, it's a failed state. I don't know what your definition of a failed state is.
What is your definition of a failed state?
I would say Venezuela is a failed state.
Even if
Guatemala is a failed state. I mean, Nicaragua is a failed state. Mexico.
Even if I grant you,
I don't know if I'd say Mexico is a failed state, but you can't say Venezuela, like Colombia, all these other countries aren't failed states. I mean, just because it's not Rwanda, like having mass
is Canada a failed state?
It's not a failed state. Is Canada a failed state? No, but it's on the path.
Argentina is soon going to be a redeemed state with the new president.
The libertarian.
Y'all keep smiling smugly, but during the Iraq War for like 17 years, there were peaks where Mexico had more per capita violence than Iraq. They were literally at like 25 to 30 per 100,000 homicides.
And why was that?
Effectively in a fucking civil war, because the cartels have more power than the government.
And where do the cartels get their money? And where do the cartels get their money? And where do they get their money?
Doing cocaine, Lactoid, doing cocaine.
I don't do cocaine.
Having a secret heroin addiction. You cunts. I don't do heroin. I don't do cocaine. It's you three. Don't blame me.
So
I don't know. Based on your behavior, it's a little bit questionable about cocaine use.
So
means like an adult.
Lactoid, and to back you up, Connor, I do amphetamines every morning as well. But
legal ones,
lactoid, legal ones. Lactoid. So you are pro legalization of drugs, full stop.
Yeah.
Legalization of prostitution, full stop. Someone in chat brought up a question, and it made me want to ask you that very same question.
The answer is yes. I don't go ahead and ask the question.
You are pro drug addicts who are using prostitution to make money for drugs. You are pro people offering them in their very vulnerable state food in return for sex.
Yeah. So if you look at Prime's chat where that was asked, I actually responded to it saying true in all capital letters. Absolutely.
Gross.
That's your definition of a good society.
No. Sex work is work. Okay. At the end of the day, these are
no.
consensual
I'm not saying
transactions.
sex work isn't work. I'm saying offering food in return for work
so you
is
can't
gross.
you can't offer food in return for work.
I would say no.
Okay, hold on.
That's ridiculous.
Hold on. This shit is so disconnected from reality. And I'm gonna fucking anecdote Andy this shit, okay? So my father-in-law, he works in a drug treatment facility for men. And basically they come in fundamentally broken, don't have their families, don't have their friends, they don't have any finances, they don't have any savings, their teeth are rotting out of their heads, they have major fucking health issues and all that kind of shit, and they enter in on a voluntary basis a 2-year treatment program. And effectively what a lot of these grown-ass 6-foot fucking burly men say is that I had a heroin addiction or I had a crack cocaine addiction, and because I was so addicted to this substance, I was willing to sell my ass and my mouth in order to sustain my fucking addiction. And as a result, they have deep shame, deep trauma, borderline suicidal as a result. And you're just saying, yeah, okay. It's
So
your
a
ass
lot-
to trade. It's your
Yeah.
mouth to trade for drugs. Yeah, sure, whatever. Base.
Well, so
Good
a lot
for
of this,
you,
a
King.
lot of this has
Like,
to
are
do.
you fucking kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. A lot of this. So first of all, I don't know how throwing them in a cage helps the situation, right? Which is what we currently do. And
I already said
B,
decriminalization.
sure, okay. Well, then now you are to the left of the vast majority of like this country at this point. Okay, like when it comes to the
but I
hard
also
drugs.
wanna
Okay,
conquer down to Panama, so I'm well to the right of the country.
sure. You're to the right and to the left. I understand, right? But the Overton window currently is a lot of fucking like, you know, brain diseased Americans are like, yeah, we should throw people in a cage if they happen to possess cocaine. Like crazy shit. This is the situation that.
Why is
we're
that
in.
crazy?
So I know we got one right here. So like that's where we're currently are, and then B, a lot of that trauma, which I want to. Being an addict is not a good thing, and doing jobs that you don't want to do like sucks, and doing a job that you don't want to do that's like deeply personal obviously sucks too. I'm sure the coal miners like who have black lung now because they had to work to feed their families in Appalachia, they're probably fucking traumatized about the whole situation too. I get it, right? There's sacrifices that come with work, but at the end of the day, like if we destigmatize this and we say, okay, like we should work on helping you get out of addiction, but like work is work, and if it's a consensual transaction, it's none of our business, and move forward with that idea, I think in the end result is going to be a good thing.
$20.
This entire conversation is making me a fucking groiper. I'm about to go join Nick Fuentes. I swear to
Perfect.
Christ.
It's
Y'all need
elected.
some
Wait,
no, sorry.
Y'all need
Swerve.
some Christian authoritarian bullshit in your fucking lives. Y'all have gone too far. Yeah. Okay. So listen, I'm partially memeing, and I do have like a meme solution to this that I would like to get into. But at the same time, like this is obnoxious, and I'm kind of tired of the like the opinion that's so disconnected from fucking reality. Guess what? Selling your ass and selling your mouth in order to score enough money to get drugs is not a morally neutral position. And if you basically say like, if we destigmatize it, oh, I'm sorry. So if I meet Frank, the 6'4" fucking toothless drug addict down at fucking Walmart, and he's like, yeah, I suck dick for a living. It's been destigmatized. I love it. You think that I'm just supposed to treat that like another fucking job? Go fuck yourself.
No, you don't treat it like another job. Wait, you don't have to treat it like another job, right? You can say
like I'm supposed to respect him like a coal
I'm
miner.
not even saying you have to respect it.
Good
I'm not
for
even saying
you, Frank, going down into the dick sucking mines today. I hope
not-
you fucking get some money.
Yeah. I'm not even saying you have to respect it or that you have to think it's like a good thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that like you stepping in and like aggressing upon somebody to stop them from engaging in like a consensual transaction, I think is very much informed by your Christian morality.
So do you think it should be legal?
Hold on. I think it is very much informed by your Christian morality because you don't apply this same standard to jobs that are much more dangerous than sex work, like commercial fishermen or loggers.
So,
you want to see the
Lactoid.
death rate of those industries? People are getting their fucking heads clipped
Death
off
rate
by
is not
logging
the
materials.
only thing.
But who
So,
cares about their
Lactoid.
kids,
let's-
right?
hold on,
Who cares about their
let's-
families? We're gonna like talk
let's
shit.
go to Sproudicus. Let's go to Sproudicus. I just wanted to say
So-
though that like the best part of this conversation has been watching Pep's facial reactions to the things that we say. Have been very amused. Putting that out there. Let's go to Sproudicus.
So Lactoid, in your opinion, because your whole thing is that it's consensual, right? That's your entire thing is that it's consensual, right?
In the way all labor is, yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So in your opinion, do you think that it would be moral, or do you think this should be allowed underneath the law for someone to sell their life to somebody else and say, you can murder me for this much money?
Yeah, I think
and then that's paid to my family.
Yeah.
So
I'm
you
in favor of
literally think
legalized
people can
suicide.
sell their life away to be murdered?
Yeah.
What about
What about
legalized
slavery?
assassinations?
Do I own my life or do you fuckers? Like at the end of the day, what does this come down to?
Yeah,
I'm
I hate
just-
individualism. I hate libertarianism.
This is so
fucking
stupid.
gay.
He's not
We
a
don't have-
libertarian.
So hold on.
Like
So
a-
you so,
like
so
a-
you
he's a
you can
libertarian.
set up your camp on like the peripherals of like the extreme portions of my ideology. And yes, I will even bite some bullets because I'm not afraid to do so. But what I will say is that what the actual policies are that I'm advocating for on this panel are like very much reasonable. Like, let's figure out a way to like remove power from the cartels. Connor, I even said like I'd be willing to like move into some sort of like decriminalization, semi-legalization kind of area if it meant we can remove power from these cartels to begin with. Because that's half the fucking problem. The reason why people want to come to this country is because the places where they live right now are shit. And the reason why they're shit is because they're run by cartels. It's a fucking, they are failed states, and it's because of the cartels. It's not because of the people there. They're just trying to escape.
Can I share a meme policy? But if like it had broad popular support, I would actually 100% support it. So I literally think that the United States of America should expand its influence like into like sure under some power sharing agreement or whatever. But I literally think like everything north of the Panama Canal should become like one political entity. Essentially, you could call it like the northern United States of America.
Getting the
or some
Amero
shit.
up and running.
Yeah, and like I mean, people joke about American Empire, but that's just because I want to make it muscular because I don't like pussy shit. But I literally think that like we could add 10 stars to the American flag,
Played so much
incorporate all
Warhammer
of the
40K.
Mexican states. Well, but, I mean, like
That's a statement.
we're kind of joking because of how unrealistic it was, but I actually do think that Mexico would benefit from like American security culture, and you would also eliminate the requirement to cross a dangerous, deadly border for economic opportunity because we would become one economic zone.
Wait, don't
This
you
is
just
why
want the
I
Roman
don't-
Empire
this is-
like all
this
over
is-
again?
Look, I love
essentially?
Paradox Games just as much as the next guy, okay? But this idea is like very. You would agree this would have like terrible ramifications on the international stage, right? Annexing part of Mexico.
Not
Yeah.
part of all
Fuck
of
them.
We're
it.
What are
blowing
they
up
gonna do?
Russians
What are
right
they
now
gonna
for doing the
do?
same thing.
What are they
All
going
of
to do?
Mexico.
Holy shit! They'll have a war with us.
Well, they're not going to do nothing. We
bloody
sell
war.
Well, and
Yeah.
we'll shut down their
Yeah,
F-35s,
if you-
make computer
And
programs.
this
What
is
are they
what
going
you
to do?
think,
They're gonna do
and this is
nothing.
what happens. This is like the
But if it
brain
was
that you get when you
voluntary.
think that countries are failed states. You're like, oh, I guess the American military can just run through them, just like we did in Afghanistan, right? Like we just had crushed them,
did
and
run
then there
through
was
them.
no problems after all, right? Like after that happened, it was just peace and rainbows.
It was better than what it
anyway,
is now. I
like,
haven't seen them
it's a lot
lately.
easier. It's a shorter drive.
yeah, okay, fuck. I had a response to counterpoints, but I'll go to my friend Doobie.
I'm just trying to get like a gauge as to where like Lactoid's mind is. So you said earlier that sex work is work. It's not really a big deal if someone's buying their drug of choice with their body, or someone's like trading food for sex with a homeless person.
To be
So-
clear, I would put it in the same bucket as like gambling, tobacco, alcohol, like those kind of industries that I think are like bad and
Right.
should generally be discouraged, but we shouldn't like fucking destroy someone's life if they did it in the past. We're trying to
So
bring
only
them
the
out of
people
it.
that are desperate enough. So only people
hold
that
on,
need
can I-
food desperately should offer their
Yeah,
bodies
so like
up.
here's
This is so
here's
stupid.
what I'm curious about, right? Because what we're talking about are like extremely addictive substances, right? So if you're coming off of like fentanyl or something, or like some other opioid, the withdrawal symptoms can be bad enough that you could die, right? And some people die going through the withdrawal. So if somebody's like very addicted to one of these substances, and you find out that your friend found this person, gave them just enough money to buy the minimum amount they needed to get by for the day in exchange for sex, you wouldn't see that as like an immoral thing to do with an extremely addicted person?
No, in fact, that'd be helping them like wean off of it, right?
Jesus.
What?
Wait, what?
What?
Okay, well, what if you found out the person came back the next day and your friend gave them just enough to get through that day, and they're continuing on every day? They had this extremely
Daily
addicted
blowjobs,
person,
just working in the dick
extremely addicted, like a 18-year-old coming by to give them blowjobs
Yeah.
so they can survive the day.
So ultimately, like I said, I would put this in the same bucket of gambling and some other things, but I want to talk about gambling specifically because I think
What, you don't wanna
gambling- I
address
think
the
gambling-
you don't
Hold on,
really.
no,
To
this
be clear,
is-
I just want to be clear, you don't see that as like immoral, though.
No,
right?
no.
Like,
In the same way that when a casino sets up an industry which is entirely geared towards, in a somewhat predatory manner, like triggering someone's limbic system to the point where they keep throwing money at a fucking robot until they're out of money and like, oh fuck, now they're fucked. Yeah, like there's something about that like definitely is like not good in terms of having like good or having a negative effect on that person. And
But
Has
probably,
anybody,
like,
has anybody
generally-
ever died coming
it's-
off of a
it's-
gambling addiction?
people,
So-
people, of course,
hold on,
people
hold on.
die due to gambling addictions. People
Hold on,
get
hold
in
on.
with the
I-
I'm not
sharks,
talking
they
about
get
kill
killed.
themselves. I'm not talking about killing themselves. I'm talking their body gives out because they're going through like extreme withdrawal and they have no support.
So hold on. What Lactoid is trying to say here, and I'll try to defend him a bit, right? He's simply talking about like our response to these things, right? Like our response shouldn't be to like he said, destroy these individuals. Our response shouldn't be throwing them in jail. Our response shouldn't be trying to ruin their life. We want to improve their lives. And like having a police action by the state, right, enforced upon them doesn't improve their lives.
Right,
So like
right.
when we're talking
not-
about, hold on. We're talking about like survival sex work that you referred to. I think I'm of Blacktoad's opinion that sex work is work and that you can do like whatever, like for the exchange of your body and your time or whatever. That's up to you. However, that doesn't mean that all of that, like I would consider that all that equally good for society, right? If a person is engaging survival sex work, that means they're in big trouble. They'll probably be exploited, as you pointed out. So let's give them tools so that they aren't exploited. I want to help those.
Prime, I understand, right? So,
Yeah.
but I wasn't addressing.
That's exactly what I wanted to
What I'm trying to get to is the
Wait.
morality of what Lactoid is talking about, right? So I
It's not even the
support
same.
I support helping addicted people, support helping starving people, whatever, right? But what Lactoid is effectively saying is that if there were a starving person in front of me, someone who's on the brink of starvation, starving to death, and I said, hey, yeah, I know you really want the sandwich. I'll give it to you if you suck my dick. If that was the exchange, I think that would be rape. That'd be a type of rape. Right?
Yes.
So, and I think it's very
No.
similar with this person who's extreme, not just addicted in the way that somebody is addicted to gambling. They're physically, chemically addicted to this drug, and if they don't get it, they will die. Right? So, I don't think it's comparable to gambling at all.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
not.
you're
It's not. It's
minimizing
not.
the fucking harm that you're talking about normalizing.
So let's
It's not even.
Right,
It's not
you
even
think-
close. It's not even. Wait, one
We
second.
gotta let some, so let's
Do
sprout
it.
a kiss and pep, and then
Okay.
Well, can I respond real quick to what Doobie said?
you'll get everyone's responding to you, so don't worry.
Yeah, they're all
Sprout a kiss
dumping.
and pep.
So it's not even close. Like this whole gambling comparison isn't even close to the same extreme. You're in a lot of what Doobie said is true. Like these aren't close to the same extreme. The people die from the effects of going cold turkey off these drugs. Like the effects they get when they try and stop. Like people die off this. No one dies from stopping gambling. It's not like, oh, I stopped gambling and now I'm dead because of the withdrawals. Right? That doesn't happen. And so trying to draw a comparison between these two as if they're equals is just it's insane. It's not debating in good faith. If you're going to try and draw an exact equilibrium between like a gambling addiction and a drug addiction, it's not good faith at all.
Bad faith Lactoid. And let's go to he's known for that.
Okay.
So
So
please.
I'm extremely pro sex work, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit more nuance in the pro sex work discussion because there's trafficking as well, which is like a part of the sex work world and something that we need to work really hard on getting rid of. And some of the decriminalization goals are like helping support that. But when people are in like a pimping situation or they've been sex trafficked or they're like on drugs and on the street in a survival sex work situation, I don't think that's as like worth being like, yeah, this is good. I think we should lean more towards like supporting that person out of that. Same with drugs. Like I feel like instead of like Prime mentioned, like instead of penalizing people, we should have more support systems in place so people don't need to engage in that in the first place, so that people can go to a rehab place instead of going on the streets, things like that. Make it easier to avoid the bad options in the first place, rather than getting mad at people when they're forced to engage in those options.
Absolutely. Lactoid.
Okay. Real quick. So I was making a comparison. I understand they're not exactly the same thing, but they're the same thing in the specific way that I was explaining, which is both revolve around triggering the human limbic system in a way to induce addictive behavior, which gambling absolutely does and drug use absolutely does. I don't disagree that there can be different effects from these different things, right? Gambling. I don't know of anybody who has died after quitting gambling cold turkey. I don't think that in like the small portion of people who specifically die from quitting cold turkey, as opposed to anything else, the other ways that addicts die. I don't know if that's like a defeater to the comparison. especially for the purposes of why I'm using it. I don't like, yeah, some people die off drugs and there's some people who die off gambling. I understand these numbers are going to be different, but at the end of the day, the purpose of these industries is to hook somebody by manipulating their limbic system and to get them to keep coming back so you can keep getting money. Cigarettes do this as well. Tobacco or alcohol does this as well. There's all sorts of fast food does this as well. Sugar does this as well. You can go down the fucking list, and I can make all these comparisons about all these different things that are going to be addictive. Like I said, if you have to work to like afford your McDonald's, even though it's addictive, I don't think that you're being like I don't think you're being abused. I don't think this is a non-consensual interaction just because
outside of suicide
you're addicted. It doesn't matter if outside of suicide or if a lone
it
shark
does matter,
or if
though.
a shark comes and like kneecaps you and you die in the street. I don't know.
It does matter.
There could be 100 different ways. Okay, so there's A, first of all. B, the sandwich hypothetical that Doobie brought up and Sprout agreed with. This you got to be very careful with this, and I mean this sincerely, because this is a precursor to communism, right? This idea that if you have to work, like, oh, you have to work for food, that's exploitative, that's exploitative, right? Now you've just made the argument that all labor is exploitative, right? Like, oh, I need you to like do some work around my house and then I'll give you money that you can then go and buy food. Well, now we're just talking one extra jump between, well, hold on a minute, I have to do work for food. That's unconsensual because otherwise I'm going to die without doing that work. Oh, the farmer has to go and grow the food. Well, they don't consent to growing that wheat. That's, oh my God, it's forced labor. This is slavery. Like literally this, yes, you have to work. You have to meet other people's needs if you want what they have to offer. And if what they want is a construction job in order to get food, if they are the ones growing the food, yes, you got to go build a house. Or if if they want their dick sucked, yes, you got to suck the dick. Okay. The market demands what it demands, and that's the way the country works.
Can I ask a question? Let me ask one question. Is it taking advantage if I go down to Home Depot and pick up 5 guys to come work and do my yard work? Is that taking advantage? Because that seems like what y'all are saying. Like, I mean, what's the
Can they consent? Can these migrants consent to the work?
Am I taking advantage of because I need my tech built?
The answer is yes. There is exploitation built into the capitalist system. That is just true, right? But I think there are different types of exploitation. Some are worse than others. I.e., if somebody is flipping burgers at McDonald's, right, to earn a living, right, and that's how he's being exploited because if he doesn't do this, he doesn't get money, he can't pay his rent, he can't eat, et cetera, he ends up on the street. That is still him being exploited, right? And in most cases, the employer's going to pay him as little as possible to get those eight hours of his life every day, right? So that is a type of exploitation because he needs that money to survive. But it is not as bad as somebody exploiting a drug addict for sex. Right? It is not as bad as someone going to somebody who is like a mentally ill or mentally, I was going to say retarded, disabled, right? Somebody who doesn't fully comprehend what they're agreeing to and saying, hey, yeah, there are ghosts in the walls. If you don't suck my dick, they're going to eat you, right? If I were to do that, that'd be exploitative in the same way that forcing somebody to work for food is exploitative, but it's a different level of exploitation, right?
Let's go to Corey.
What about commercial fishermen or loggers?
All right. Corey, let's give Corey.
The entire system.
Corey.
We're gonna stay on the subject because I'm curious, Doobie. In your example that you gave with the sandwich, like, so then what should occur in that situation then? Like, what's the alternative of like how it's
based off?
So in the sandwich hypothetical, right, where if someone's starving to death and I say, hey, yeah, if you suck my dick, I'll give you a bite of the sandwich. Right, and the next day they're still starving to death. Say, hey, if you want another bite, suck my dick again. I think in that situation, if I found out a person doing this, I'd put them in the cage, right? And I
which person?
I would take care of the starving person, put the exploiting person in a cage somewhere. Okay, maybe kill them.
Okay, but I'm curious, what would you do with the person who is searching out the sandwich, the one who's being exploited
who's starving to death? I would help them.
The addicts?
What does that mean, though?
What are the policies for that?
I don't need a 5-point plan, but help them how and what
So I agree with Connor a bit, probably, right? I think decriminalization is a good thing, but I would include like mandatory state-funded rehab, right? If you get caught with drugs, if we find that you're addicted, we will pay for your rehab because long-term, that's better for society, right? Making you a productive citizen. I'm totally fine with that. But I do think there has to be a limit on this. I think if it happens 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, I think eventually you go in the cage too.
Yep.
And I'd include as part of the initial thing that they would need to narc on the suppliers.
Well, real quick,
That would also
so
be required.
Doobie, you like so the rates of court like the rates of success for court ordered rehab are like astronomically low, about 2%. So the chances are like they will
That's
fail.
because they can currently walk out.
No.
I wouldn't let them walk
If
out.
it's court ordered, they can't. Like you have to go if it's court ordered.
That's not true.
The court orders you to do something, you have to do it. That's how like
No, do rehab facilities have the legal or like a legal requirement or ability to stop somebody who's trying to leave?
No, a judge does. Like a judge can order you to
Judge
be in a
isn't
specific
there.
area.
I understand.
Well,
The judge isn't, I'm not talking about letting them go home and then they show up at rehab on the weekends. I'm saying they go to the facility that day and they stay there until they're better.
Okay, and now
Cincinnati Adams drug hospitals, yes.
So
Is anybody familiar with this?
I need to see. I need to see the success rate.
It's well, hold on. It's another meme solution. So, Cincinnati, they want drug treatment facilities where basically they're jails, but you have like a minimum amount of like human comfort, and then what you do
What's
is
the minimum?
you give people unlimited access to the drug of their choice. But if they want to leave, then they have to be clean.
I don't think any of us here are in favor of that. That's
I'm so in favor of that.
Oh boy.
I want to know who's paying for all these ideas. Like, where's this money coming from?
Let's.
Well,
so I want
to be dead or they'll get clean. It's one or the
Okay,
other.
so two things here. One, to our friend Pep. I largely agree with what you had to say before on sex work. Except I have like thoughts on sex trafficking and our common understanding of that, because I think that's actually a more nuanced conversation than we ever have any sort of discussion on. And I would like to have that with you later at some other point in time.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. If you've been familiar with this channel, you are familiar with the handicap siren song, right? It just kind of draws people in. This is like the libertarian earworm, right?
I'm a
a pop song, a libertarian earworm where it pops on, it just kind of gets to your head and it repeats over it. Yeah, so like we've gone far down this route. Like we've talked about blowjobs quite enough. I think we've hit our quota for a prime panel. I think.
Can I ask a question?
So I like to.
Never.
It's about blowjobs.
It's not about blowjobs. It's not about blowjobs. I promise.
I like to get our recenter on Eric Adams and him being shit and anyone supporting him
Sounds
being
pretty
shit.
cool.
So and these anti-immigrant policies, yeah. So yes, I want New York to be. I love this policy from New York saying that if anyone's in house, they're going to house them. Right? Eric Adams trying to get rid of this policy. Fuck him for doing that.
Chad.
But like I can understand the practical realities where they don't have the money to do this or the infrastructure to do that. So I would want them to get support from the state. I get what Republicans or conservatives have been saying about this Schadenfreude from the immigrants going to like the blue cities and then like having hair on fire. But like those southern states had a lot of time to build up infrastructure to handle this. Not to saying that it was going well. I'm not implying that, right? But that they have infrastructure there to send immigrants to these places that don't have the infrastructure and to do no coordination, just like a busloads of individuals just pop down the city. Yeah, that's a problem.
That's disingenuous.
Prime. The issue is most of these people aren't immigrants.
I can tell you definitively that's not what happened.
Most of these people.
I'm looking right now. Like my parents work. My mom works with the migrants like a lot. Like that's what she does for a living. So I'm telling you right now. Let me just give you a statistic right here. This has happened from yesterday. This is on ABC News. This is in the next 2 weeks. We're expected to have another 200,000 immigrants here in San Antonio and Eagle Pass. 2 weeks ago, in the last 2 weeks, we We've had 142,000 immigrants in just 2 weeks that are supposed to come through the Eagle Pass area and try to take care of these people. That Eagle Pass is not New York City. Eagle Pass is a small suburb of San Antonio. That's just one city down here, and they're sitting here boo-hooing about 100,000 people in New York and going, "We don't have the facilities. Y'all should handle this. Y'all should have this." We don't. Nobody can plan
No, hold
for
on.
these trains
They
of
didn't say
400,000
that.
people.
Hold on. But here's the dishonest part from you. They didn't actually say that. Once
We
again,
asked for help.
hold on. Wait. And Democrats have been begging to give you guys help forever, right?
Just
to
not
handle
help,
the situation.
just not the help we're asking
hold on.
for.
I know. But they've been begging to do this, right? I shouldn't say that. I should say that the Democratic Party has been like dicking around with this, but still, I hear you. But we have activists on the left have been actually putting forth solutions to handle these issues, wanting legislation. The left isn't new to this, right? The left have been talking about this for decades, and it hasn't gone through. And it was never the point from even the Democratic Party that like the southern states should be left on their own to handle it. No one ever said that, right? But what they are saying now is that like it is not unreasonable to say that like a city like was it I don't know, Philadelphia, I'm not sure if they sent places to Philadelphia or something, but that they may not be prepared to do this because yes, this is an issue that they're new with, right? Like that's new to them, and so it's going to be even harder for them. Like if you don't have like nonprofits on the ground who are prepared to help these people, that'll be an issue. You'll have those nonprofits in the southern states. Again, I don't want to leave it up to them. I want to give them resources. I want to change our entire immigration system. But no one ever said. But this idea of just sending out to these other states and just saying, "Well, you're just complaining for nothing," is insane.
Prime.
These people are not
Southern states. Sorry, Sprout. Sorry, I've just been waiting for a minute.
You're good. Go ahead.
Southern states and conservatives don't want more resources to house immigrants. We want a controlled fucking border. And as a sovereign nation, since the inception of time for the last 3,000 years of statehood, states have controlled their fucking borders. So don't give us fucking NAP and
there are easy ways to do that. And there are easy ways to do that.
You know what there are?
No, don't vote. No, nope.
Yeah.
So it's real simple. Give people paths to either citizenship and like immigrant.
They have these paths.
This is a pull factor, absolutely. And I want them there. Hold on. First, okay. This is okay. Hold on. This is so weird. Right? Because what I was gonna say before to counterpoints, right, is that like I know he's not a racist because like he's offering to like make all of Central America into Americans, right? Like and racists don't want that. But then on the other hand, he goes and like it's a pull factor to bring in these people. Yeah, we'll have more Latin individuals. Absolutely.
Why?
That's okay. Why?
Brian,
Why would you make them Americans? You want to make them all Americans to begin with. That's your foreign policy. Like I'm talking about doing it slowly.
We also get the land though, right, Prime?
You also
get the land.
Yeah. Well, 1, we get the land. 2, we get Cancun. 3, we get like the pyramids and all that cool shit. 4, we get Belize. They have an excellent Jaguar National Preserve. I want to go see that shit. And if I could drive there without producing a passport, that would be fucking sick. But the reason why I meme about invading down to Panama is because I seriously think that it's not even benign neglect. It's like malevolent neglect. We have like the worst of all worlds where we can't have a border. We still have an active drug war. We have capitalists arguing for mass immigration because it gives them cheap labor. We have like a minimum wage that puts like a shitty price floor on the minimum wage. And then we have fucking people like Lactoid who are like, yeah, well, just deregulate everything. And if Juan wants to go fucking down to the blowjob mines, then it's his prerogative. So like, honestly, like we have like the quintupling of worse worlds. Whereas I think what would actually be good is having El Salvador, Mexico, Nicaragua, Guatemala, all that kind of stuff be like stable states. And so the reason why I was screaming why at you is because if we took 320 million people and we just moved north of the Canadian border, I think it's the right of Canadians to say, this is Canada. We have our own history, our own language, our own culture. And as a result, if you come here, you're going to integrate. And on top of that, we're not taking all 330 million of you. We'll take 3 million of you because that's how many think we can integrate within a few generations that we think will be economically productive because that's our national interest.
Okay.
But
look,
there's
look,
also there's also this.
have
One
right
second.
to our socials, okay? So let's get that clear. But go ahead. Sorry, Spartacus.
These aren't immigrants in the way you would legally use the term immigrants. This is illegal immigration, and most of them are coming here in search of a refugee status in the United States. They're not coming in with they're not coming in with green cards. They're not coming in with work visas. They're not coming in with whatever visa they might need legally to immigrate. They're coming in searching for a refugee status. And I caught some flack in the very beginning from your chat about having these people underneath military control until the background check is done, until a host family is willing to take them in, until et cetera and so on, go down the list. But that's literally what we did with refugees from Afghanistan. This would be the way to take care of refugees from South America and Central America, is to have them underneath military control in a military base that is, and then basically when they get a host family or when everything figured out on the outside, they get on an airplane and they go to where they're supposed to go. But unless we do this, we're going to keep ending up with problems to where they keep mass migrating to like certain cities or to certain populations that these cities not going to be able to take control of.
I gotta be honest, that's not gonna work, and I'll tell you why. The people that came from Afghanistan, you know how many of those people there were? There wasn't 400,000 of them on each caravan. Like, this is like millions. It's millions of people over the last couple of years, and you're acting like we could just house millions of people on military bases? You're out of your mind. Like, it's just not possible.
We had 2.7 million refugees from Afghanistan.
Okay, I don't know. I don't have that number, but I have some doubts.
We had in 2023 we had at least 8.2 million in 103 countries. The United States share of it was at least 2.7 million.
Like, bro, I mean, you're sitting here acting like we could just put millions of refugees on the United States military bases, not compromise national security.
That's what we did with the Afghan refugees.
Not all of them, and like there wasn't
literally what we did.
There was not 2.7 million host homes keeping these people at their house either. This is just like fantasy land.
No, wait, they're families, right? We don't need 2.7 million host homes. If there's a family of 6, they go with one host family. Like, this is stupid.
Yes, it is. I agree. It's just not.
No, you're making a stupid. You're making the stupid claim that we need 2.7 million host family. The fuck?
Sprout, where are you getting this 2.7 million number?
Yeah.
I just googled it, and that seems like way.
There's no way it was 2.7.
Unless I'm off. Holy shit! Can I talk? Unless I'm off on what I googled in the quick amount of time I Googling search. Give me 1 second. I'll get you a more accurate number.
I mean, the point is, though, it's been millions over the last few years. And, like, we don't have the host families. We don't have, that's going to compromise national security, put people on military bases. That's an undue burden on the U.S. military, which shouldn't be having to house people on the U.S. soil. What we should be using the U.S. military for is foreign policy. We don't need the U.S. military doing anything on national grounds. That's already a taboo. That's a problem. So now we're sitting here, you want them to take on this job of being the humanitarian aid and be the UN all of a sudden? Give me a break. It's just outrageous and just like not.
I apologize. Google's AI was incorrect. I shouldn't trust Google's AI. It's 97,000, 2.7 million. 2.7 million was the worldwide number.
In the last 2 weeks, we've already had more people than like all of Afghanistan.
Did Doobie want to jump in and then we'll go to counterpoints?
Well, because like I said, I think I said earlier that I feel like this is like a situation where like the ideal is meeting reality. So Prime, like, what would because it seems like you like the ideal, right? You like the idea that New York will just house everybody who comes to their borders, right? It's like the Statue of Liberty thing, right? Give me your tired, yada yada. So what would you suggest they do? Do they just keep building houses and passing them out to these migrants? Like, what's the solution here long term if they're going to keep accepting these people and then housing them indefinitely?
No. Okay. So So what I'm in favor of, and I believe I said it when I previously, right?
Yeah.
Is that I'm in favor of New York housing the unhoused, right? So that's different from housing immigrants. So like I want us to be able to get these people on their feet as fast as possible, right? Give them work visas, and then
Right.
allow them to and allow them to work, right? And bring in income. And then I want New York separately for completely different reasons to build a shit ton of housing. To reallocate buildings that are currently there into housing. Or and also like surrounding areas. I want to bring down the cost of housing. I think we
Right.
definitely need more units.
Well, I'm glad
Prem,
you
wait
brought
one
that up.
second.
I'm
Gibbs,
glad you brought-
Gibbs, please wait.
Okay.
Prem, do you believe in a right to housing or a right to the house?
Absolutely. Oh, right to housing, not to a house necessarily.
Okay,
but
okay.
right
It
to
could be
housing.
like an apartment or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm asking is because when you say you want them to house and housed, and you want them to get on their feet, etc. But what I think with the policy is they're going to be housed for 2 months, right? Then after those 2 months, if they're not on their feet, they're just out. They're out on the street, I guess. So what if they don't get on their feet, right? What if you give them the opportunity to work and for whatever reason they're not, right? They're choosing not to do it. Maybe they can't find enough work to pay for the extremely high housing prices in New York and rent prices in New York. Do you just house them indefinitely, whether or not they get on their feet ever? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, like, do you support just like giving anybody who needs a house in New York a house indefinitely, whether or not they're ever going to find work themselves? Because it seems like right now that's the situation, right? They're getting the housing indefinitely, whether or not they're ever going to seek the ability to support themselves.
So I will make it very clear what my position is here. Absolutely, yeah. I would actually prefer people to be housed than to be on the streets, because the consequences of being on the streets are far worse, right? Both for them and for society at large.
Right.
So absolutely, yes, we should
Okay.
house people even indefinitely. Now, here's the reason why I can say that so confidently is because I know that most people, the vast majority of individuals, will want to work. Will be looking like some of the housing that the immigrants are in now, right, are like these like giant tent structures, like these like FEMA camp tent structures where they're just like, because they don't have any places to put them, right?
Right.
These aren't the conditions that people want to be in. They want to get work. So I put investments in their hands, maybe help them create businesses. I want them to do all of that, right? That conservatives love. Ain't that right, Lectford, right? You want
So
Why
what do
not
you do
apply
to-
for?
what do you do
Why not apply
counterpoint
for a
to
work
that, like-
visa before coming in? Then why not
Hold on.
apply for a
Hold
work visa?
I would love
he's
to.
saying-
Yes,
But he's saying they
do
wouldn't
that.
even hold on, but Prime, you said they wouldn't even need a visa, right? So even if they're not seeking, even if they're not seeking a visa, even if they're not seeking citizenship, if they show up, you house them, right? So if that's the case, like, what do you do when people find out, hey, this place will house us forever and never kick us out no matter what the fuck we do? Why wouldn't that place just get flooded with migrants or just homeless people in general from across the USA?
Well, first of all, I think it should be national policy, so there's no reason to go to New York specifically.